Bulls Nation, today we had a game against the Charlotte Hornets, and despite everything that was said against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and again, despite the play-in tournament, whether we make it or not, with the bounce-back game that we had today, I think it's only fair to say the Chicago Bulls deserves a lot of credit for bouncing back after the humiliation that they suffered against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And although it might mean nothing towards the end of the season, maybe this is the game that can help us change things around. At the end of the day, all these questions we've been asking all season for the Chicago Bulls, and still we have not really seen too many answers in that retrospect. So we're going to be talking about, I guess, the positives of this game and also the negatives all around for the Chicago Bulls with our tough schedule coming very soon. So without further ado, let's talk about everything I've just said in this video. Let's do it. What's up, everybody? It's the Aidan Sports Show, and welcome back to another video. Today, we've got a Chicago Bulls versus Charlotte Hornets game reaction. The Chicago Bulls with a very, again, lackluster, embarrassing, destructive game against the Cleveland Cavaliers. They could have ultimately been one game too far to take our season into jeopardy. The Chicago Bulls, off of a back-to-back against a team that is better than Cleveland in the end, we picked up a pretty good victory, and we bounced back very well from that humiliation game against the Cleveland Cavaliers. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Aidan Sports Show YouTube channel. Turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls. Is our season still alive, or just looking at our schedule? I mean, just look at our schedule coming up. I will mention nearly every game that we have coming up, because for many people, it is seen as too little too late, and the schedule might just show that. But again, let's look at the positive. We picked up a win in today's game. The score for this game was 108 to 91. And before I go any further, this game happened a long time ago, and I'm sure you would have noticed by me posting this late. I just want to apologize. Again, I've said this multiple times, but maybe to new subscribers or new people that are watching this video. I mean, I'm sure I get at least 1 or 2 new people every single time I make a video. I have university classes, or if you're in the USA, I guess it's called college classes, and especially at the time that I'm awake and the time those classes starts is when usually the Bulls play. So some of those classes simply are unavoidable, and I do have to go and attend them. But I did watch the game before the class, and I did have all my notes taken down. I was ready to discuss it, but I just had to make the actual recording of this video at a later time, and I'm sure you guys will be able to tell by how late this video is posted, especially in the US times. But again, enough about that. I do apologize. It's out of my control at times, and we're going to move on swiftly, and we're going to be talking about the Chicago Bulls today. So, what did the Chicago Bulls do well today, and what didn't we do well today? Well, again, after the pretty bad performance against Cleveland, I guess the main standout is defensively. Once again, we were on fire defensively, and that was the defensive performances we've seen against Boston, the defensive performances we see against the Cavs in the first time around, or I guess the second time around technically. And in the end, the Chicago Bulls have done very well defensively again today. So the Cavs game, maybe it was an outlier, maybe it was just a bad representation of this team. I don't really know the situation with that, but in terms of today's game specifically, we were very good defensively, and that is something that you can't take away from this team. We capitalized and we bounced back off of a very bad loss against the Cavs, and we put a lot of pressure on the Hornets, to which the Hornets could not respond. I think, personally speaking about the Charlotte Hornets, they got their entire game plan wrong when they faced the Chicago Bulls. And I'm not sure if they do this against every team. Again, I don't watch the Hornets religiously. I love their commentators, but I don't watch the Hornets religiously compared to obviously the Chicago Bulls. I watch every single game. I know what this team does and does not do. What I didn't like about the Hornets specifically is that they switched every single thing. And again, if any dominant center that they're versing against is being switched on by Terry Rozier, obviously Devontae Graham, even smaller guys like Bridges, it's not going to be good for them. And they struggled against that very badly for the Chicago Bulls, to the point where we played a lineup with Thaddeus Young, Larry Markkinen, and Nicola Vucevic, who are all offensive threats, potentially post threats, even though Larry Markkinen wasn't in the post too much today. They're all post threats at times. They're all very big, and they all will get switched on by smaller people. So they simply, I think they got their entire game plan wrong, to be honest, by switching every single thing. Any big man that has offensive talent, any big man that is considered an all-star, Nicola Vucevic is an all-star, will have better games. And of course, the rebounding side of the game was absolutely elite for the Chicago Bulls. Offensively, we were okay offensively. We were good. We didn't commit too many turnovers. I'm very proud of Kobe White. Don't believe he got a turnover in this game. And I just think the Chicago Bulls, over the course of a few games, there have been some really bad games. Obviously, Cleveland's. We're talking about that. For the most part, the turnovers of this team is significantly lower than what it used to be. So again, that's for me is the presence of Vucevic, how it makes things easier for this team to get the ball into the post, and the turnovers are fewer and far between because of that. However, we still are a very bad turnover team. I don't know what our turnover rate was today, but I thought that was significantly less than what we usually see. Again, the second chance opportunities and of course the rebounding was very good for the Chicago Bulls, and that showed very nicely in today's game as well. And yeah, look, there's not too much to complain about if you're a Bulls fan. The only thing to complain about is where was this performance yesterday? Again, I said this with the Cavs game. When we played the Celtics and the Cavs the second time, the Chicago Bulls played so well defensively. Offensively, we were all over the place. We usually are with the turnovers and stuff. There are at times we play well offensively and other times we struggle. But we're usually a decent offensive team at best. Where was that performance against the Cleveland Cavaliers? That's the only argument I have to talk about. Because in the end, we know the Chicago Bulls are inconsistent. We all know that we could see an elite Chicago Bulls team. We could see a hard-working Chicago Bulls team. And then we could see a Chicago Bulls team that mentality drops to the floor. And that is something I don't like to see. And again, we are more of a veteran team now. We have the experienced players in this team to make sure that isn't the case. Yet we still suffered that against the Cavs. To be fair, the Cavs played very well, and that's something you can't take away. But the Chicago Bulls did not play well, in my opinion, in that game, and the struggles began from there. And this is something that we're going to be talking about a long time from now. Because look at the schedule that we have. I want to name every single team here. The Miami Heat twice. We got the New York Knicks, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Atlanta Hawks, the 76ers. We got the Hornets again, Celtics, Pistons, then we got the Nets, and I can't really see the rest from my screen. But again, we've got very tough teams. We've got the Nets twice, we've got Boston again, we've got the Milwaukee Bucks twice, we've got the Hawks. If Trae Young will be back, that will be a very difficult game for us as well. Very, very hard games for the Chicago Bulls coming up. One of the hardest schedules remaining for this season is held by the Chicago Bulls. So this inconsistency is something we just can't see. If we lose to quality teams while we play quality basketball, that is something I can accept. But being so inconsistent to the point where we are a completely different team on a nightly basis is something that, again, will not get us in that play-in tournament. And many people think that play-in tournament is already dead and buried for the Chicago Bulls. Again, looking at the Toronto Raptors schedule as well, that's a very hard schedule for them. So I reckon the Bulls will probably finish 11th, if I had to take a guess, with the Wizards being the favorites to take that spot at this point in time. But anything can happen, and we should not give up on this season. But if we're going to make that step, we're going to really make that play-in tournament, we're going to have to beat some very hard teams. In order to do that, you need to find your consistency. That's the Chicago Bulls that I want to see. I want to see a consistent Chicago Bulls. Win or lose, if we're consistently playing good defense. The Miami game, they're going to play good defense. They're known for their defensive presence. I want the Chicago Bulls to return, or in turn, play good defense as well. I want this to be a very low-scoring game because it's clear that we don't really score too much. We score just about over 100 these days without Zach LaVine, and we are a better defensive team. So that's what I want to see. I want to see a very low-scoring game. I want to see a grit and grind game, and I want to see the Chicago Bulls pick up a victory against the Miami Heat. Both times. Very easily said, very difficult to do. So let's hope that that is the way to go for the Chicago Bulls and we can find some form of consistency. But if we see another performance like the Cavs, this is going to be a runaway. For every single team that we decide we're going to play like that against them, it's going to be a runaway for them. Easy performances for them. And it's going to be difficult for us. So let's hope that we find consistency. I don't know if we will. To be honest, I'm more leaning on the doubtful side of that. I don't think we will be consistent going forward. But all we could do is hope that we do find that level of consistency going forward for the Chicago Bulls. Let's talk about the individual performers. There are a lot of things that happened today in the world of basketball as well. That a lot of tragic things that did happen in the world of basketball. So I'm going to give a lot of respect to these players for playing through some of these things. Of course, Patrick Williams, Billy Donovan said that he was experiencing personal issues of a passing of a young talent. Again, I'm not sure of his name and I apologize for that. But again, death in basketball, death around the world is very difficult to comprehend and very difficult to overcome at times. So Patrick Williams was dealing with that. He had 7 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds. Again, taking away the actual stat line of Patrick Williams to actually continue to play through the game when he was facing these difficult times is respect beyond respect for me. He's gained a new level of respect for me for playing through something like that. I don't think many players would have played through that mid-game if he was dealing with the personal issues or the personal side of that. And I'm assuming that's what it is. Again, it's not been confirmed and will never be confirmed that that's what it is by Patrick Williams or by Billy Donovan. They just said personal issues. So I'm assuming that's the case. And if that is the case, I have a new level of respect for Patrick Williams. Obviously, it's a sad time for him. Sad time for a lot of players. A lot of players reached out and reacted to this. So again, very difficult day for a lot of players, and I'm assuming Patrick Williams is involved in that. So that's my respect goes out to Patrick Williams, and of course condolences to the players, family, friends of this individual. And again, it's a sad time, man. The future has been taken away, and that's the reality of the thing, and it's very upsetting. Again, I'm going to try and keep this in a lighter mood now. I just thought I had to mention it. Obviously, sad times, but let's try and keep things in a little bit more of a positive mood. Let's not go down that road of being very upset. And let's just try and stay a little bit more positive. Daniel Theis, 9 points, 1 assist, 7 rebounds. Daniel Theis played his role perfectly today. Again, a big man with Nicola Vucevic, 2 big men playing for the Chicago Bulls. We've gone and taken an upgrade in size. And again, he played his part to perfection. He was a guy that could be switched off. He got open dunks because of the bad switches by the Hornets. And I thought this was a truly easy game for him. At the end of the day, this is a very simple game for a lot of the big men that played today. And as you noticed, I reckon a lot of the big men had good games today. So that's just how the cookie crumbles at the end of the day. This is what the cards have been dealt. This is the way the Hornets played against us, and the big men has really thrived from that, and we took massive advantages. Again, defensively as well, these big men are really stepping up to the plate, along with the guards. I think defensively, the entire team played very well. There was a stage in the game where the Hornets didn't score for 6 minutes within a quarter, which again, that's happened to the Bulls against the Cavs. We didn't score for 4 or 5 minutes against them. So we did that to another team. So that's good to see on the Bulls perspective. And obviously, if you're a Hornets fan, it's frustrating. And trust me, I know that feeling. Nicola Vucevic, 18 points, 6 assists, and 16 rebounds. Now, of course, the main guy for the Chicago Bulls today was Nicola Vucevic, as it usually is. And he played his part to perfection as well. Again, the poor switches from the Charlotte Hornets had Terry Rozier at one point on him, Devontae Graham at one point on him. And again, overall, they don't have tremendous size. They played Cody Zeller and Bismack Biyombo off of the bench. 2 of the better players, in my opinion, that I think should have played and guarded Nicola Vucevic didn't start. So overall, I thought it was a bad mistake from the Hornets. And maybe going forward, they'll rectify that the next time they play us. Or maybe that is something they're going to live and die by. And that could cause a lot of problems for them going forward, especially they're in the playoff hunt at this point in time. They're going to verse any team with a good offensive mindset at center. They're going to switch every single possession. It's going to be very difficult for them, in my opinion, to stop a lot of those things. So again, that's just some advice for the Hornets. I'm sure they already know this. I don't need to say it. Again, I'm not the end-all be-all of basketball, but it just seemed pretty basic from that retrospect. Coby White, 18 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds. Now, one of the players I didn't mention last game because, again, I was just absolutely in a rant mode. Coby White. Coby White in the last game had 14 points and 6 assists, I believe. I think Coby White has found a new level of confidence maybe. And again, he's showing it consistently in many ways. Now, again, we know with Kobe White being a young player, and of course the responsibility of Zach LaVine being out falls a lot on his shoulders. He's taking more shots. He's able to find players. He's able to maybe run the show a little bit more. He's showing that he can play. He can step up to that level. Or maybe not the level of Zach LaVine, but obviously he could step up to a decent level for what we expect of him. And so far, this is another very good game in my eyes for Kobe White. I think offensively, he played very well. I think in terms of the catch and shoot, great today. Scoring-wise, he was solid. He made some good shots. He took a few bad shots, to be fair, but overall, decent game from Kobe White. Very happy with his performance, and he did this with 28 minutes played. Again, a solid night for Kobe White. I can't complain. I couldn't complain about him in the last game. Obviously, defensively, he was poor. We all know that. The whole team defensively was poor. But in terms of the offensive production from Kobe White, I can't complain. I really can't. Ever since he started, there's not been too many games where I could complain about Kobe White. Garrett Temple, 9 points, 4 assists, 2 rebounds. The glue guy, of course, again, he was the one that put in the press conference or in an interview that defense wins games. And again, he is someone that is, I guess, playing an important role for the Chicago Bulls, and I really enjoyed his game. Again, he made some good shots. He was cutting to the paint. He was running out. In my opinion, for someone the age of Garrett Temple, the fact that he's the one, he's always the first guy as well, if you notice it, to run out onto the fast break. We have some relatively young players here, yet we see Garrett Temple more often than not being the one that leads the fast break for the Chicago Bulls. So that's been a very important part of his game. And again, I've always said this, he's a very hard-working player, and this is another example of him being a very hard-working player. So again, I give full credit, and his assists for the Chicago Bulls, the way that he's facilitating over the past few games since his return, has been very good to see as well. Larry Markkinen, 11 points and 4 rebounds. Not a bad game for Larry Markkinen in my eyes, but again, I've always wanted Larry Markkinen to be versatile. I don't think we saw that versatility today, to be honest. I thought there wasn't many plays being called from him. I only saw one post entry to which it was a foul. So Larry Markkinen did not get a post hook or anything in that retrospect. That's the only time I saw him in the post. And most of his shots, the bulk of his shots, came from the three-point line, which again, that's his game. I don't expect him to never shoot threes ever. That's obviously will never happen with Larry Markkinen. He's a three-point shooter, and that's part of his game. So it was not a bad game at all from Larry Markkinen. I actually thought a lot of our bench stepped up very well. But in saying that, I really do think that he needs to get that versatility. And again, it's a learning curve for Larry Markkinen. And I just hope over the course of time, if he stays a Chicago Bull or anywhere that he decides to go, if it's San Antonio, if it's any team that is willing to offer him a large contract and he leaves the Chicago Bulls, I truly hope that he can learn that part of the game wherever he goes, to be versatile, not just be a three-point shooter, not just be a paint guy. Be everything you can be, because you have the talent to be offensively literally anything you want. You could be a mid-range shooter, pick and pop guy. You could be a post guy, three-point shooter, catch and shoot, pick and pop. Again, everything. You could have that capability to do a lot of things. And I guess that's always been the thing for Larry Markkinen. And hopefully we can see that wherever he goes, wherever his future is. Thomas Saneransky, 10 points, 7 assists, 2 rebounds, a ferocious dunk by Saneransky. I do have to say that. What a terrific dunk from him. He has the hops. Even in the last game against the Cavs, he had a frustration dunk. He has the hops to dunk on a consistent basis. We just don't see it enough. And again, obviously, if it presents itself, I hope he takes more of those types of things. I hope he goes into the paint more. He has the size against 90% of the point guards in the NBA. He's considered a point guard, Thomas Saneransky, and he has the size on all of them. I would love to see Saneransky go into the post, like something that Westbrook does a lot. Westbrook goes into the post because he's stronger and more athletic than most guys that he's up against. He's able to use that post game to his advantage. Saneransky, I'd love to see that happen a little bit more because of his size and his length. He can shoot over people. It's easier for him compared to other players. So I'd like to see that a little bit more. But again, I'm not complaining by a 10.7 assist game, a near double-double for Saneransky. I thought he played very, very well, and he stepped up in the second half specifically. I thought he had a great game. Thaddeus Young, 18 points, 3 assists, 4 rebounds. Once again, all the big men really had good games, and I guess the reason why is the Hornets switched everything, so the big men really took advantage of the smaller guys, and again, taking advantage of mismatches should be the go-to for the Chicago Bulls, especially if we're playing a bigger team. We're going to have mismatches on the defensive end in the post, and we have good post players that can use the post to their advantage. Thaddeus Young was another player that did that. He made a 3 today as well. I don't need to repeat myself. I've always said about Thaddeus Young, if you know, you know, in terms of the three-point shooting and Thaddeus Young, but in terms of the post game, played very well. The last 2 players I'm going to mention that played, but I'm not going to put pictures up. Arcidiacono, 3 points, 1 assist, 4 rebounds. Good defensive mindset for Ryan Arcidiacono. Again, an irritant type of player to get up in your face and he won't let up. Again, scoring-wise, not the best. And Denzel Valentine, in my opinion, Denzel Valentine had a very bad game. 3 points, 1 assist, and 3 rebounds. And speaking of that, Denzel Valentine is my must improve. I don't want to go too much into this, to be honest. He missed a lot of shots today. He could have easily had around 15 points if he made bulk of his shots. He took a lot of shots and he missed a lot of shots. And you could tell his frustration. When he missed the free throw, you could tell he was upset with himself. So I don't need to go any further in that. Clearly, Denzel Valentine knows and he's upset with himself. So I don't need to really say too much in that retrospect. The player of the game is Nicola Vucevic. 16 rebound game for Nicola Vucevic. I believe he was very close to his career high or season high, which funnily enough is against us. So yeah, he was close to that. He had 18 points. He took advantage of a lot of mismatches again, and he was versatile, and his 6 assists. He led the Bulls in assists outside of Saneransky. So again, a very good night for Nicola Vucevic. Much better than the Cavs game. The game against the Cavs, he was awful. And again, he spoke about it himself. He knows he didn't bring the energy to play that game. He said that himself. So I hope we don't see that again from Nicola Vucevic. And I guess more often than not, we're not going to see that because he's an all-star. And if he was an all-star and he was performing at that level against the Cavs at times, he wouldn't be an all-star. Simple as that. So just a bad game from him overall last game, and something I hope is not repeated going forward. The Bulls' record is 25-34. We currently sit 11th in the Eastern Conference. The Raptors play tomorrow against the Knicks. So of course, Knicks I hope would win that, considering they're on a win streak. And that could help us out a lot in terms of not falling down any lower. And hopefully the Wizards can choke a game here and there to allow us to have the opportunity once again to take that 10th position. But if you're asking me right now, do I think Bulls are favorites to make that play-in tournament? My honest answer is 11th is probably where we're going to finish. The Raptors have a ridiculously hard schedule coming up, and the Wizards have a relatively easier schedule compared to the Bulls and obviously the Wizards, and they've been on a tear as of late. So I truly believe 11th is where we'll sit, but while we continue to have the chance, we need to fight for every game, and we need to try and win some games that not many people expect us to win. That is our role now for the Chicago Bulls. That is the fate that we've been put under, and again, it is a little bit of our own fault that we're in this situation. So it's time for the Chicago Bulls to build them way out of that situation. The next game is against the Miami Heat. I've already mentioned that before. Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, a bunch of players that the Miami Heat have. They've been a solid team. I believe they're on a 3-game win streak as well. Definitely not an easy game for the Chicago Bulls, but is it seen as winnable? I truly believe we could beat the Miami Heat, but the question is, which Chicago Bulls team is going to show up against the Miami Heat? And again, if we can find out which team shows up both times against them, then I'll be able to give you an answer. I'll be able to say I believe the Bulls will win or I believe the Bulls will lose. The question is, I don't know which team's going to show up. Therefore, I can't give you an honest answer. I don't know who's going to win that game. Of course, if you're looking at the standings wise, Miami would be the favorites. But again, we're just going to have to wait and see which Bulls team shows up. If we show up with that defensive mindset as we have the past 3 out of 4 games, we might do well against them. But again, it's all up to fate, and it's all up to the Chicago Bulls and what team they're going to bring out, what energy they're going to bring out on the defensive end. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Once again, I apologize for this video coming out late. Hopefully forgive me. Again, out of my control, yada yada. You all know the deal. Have a wonderful and safe day. Stay safe, stay healthy. Make sure that you stay positive as well. Again, sad times in the NBA, very upsetting times, and it's okay to feel upset if you are. Obviously, the people close to him, people out in NBA in general, very sad times. And so try to find any way to kind of keep you a little bit happier. Try and get your mind off of it, things like that. Again, it's a tough situation, and I guess that's what I'm going to be trying to do as well. I'm going to try and stay positive and stay uplifted in many ways. So hopefully you guys will do the same. Take care and peace.